Okay, so technically, I had goofed when it came to our coverage over Legion Quest. And let me explain why I'm saying that. Because I thought we had everything going well when it came to me making sure that I put the videos out in the correct order. But occasionally, I do make mistakes because, hey, there are a lot of different X books and a lot of different X characters. Like, come on, guys. We have like 5 different X teams and like 2 or 3 solo series going on at this time. Either way, when it comes to Legion Quest, I thought we were all good when it came to the X Factor video. But then I realized that there were a couple of issues that lead into Legion Quest, preludes basically. And of course, today's video is one of those preludes. Uncanny X-Men 319 is a prelude that leads into Legion Quest. Now, there's only 2 reasons why I'm saying that. The first is that because you do have Charles Xavier be confronted by David. And the second reason why, because at the end of the book, it basically says, like, hey, coming soon, Legion Quest takes place in X Factor first. And I'm all like, oh, this right here is actually a prelude that leads into Legion Quest. I had technically goofed. And that's my fault right there. But don't worry, guys. I'll make sure when it comes to the playlist for Legion Quest that everything is put in the correct order. But with that being said, we're going to pick up with Uncanny X-Men 319 for today's video. And so, getting into the opening pages for today's storyline, we do pick up with Rogue and Iceman. Now, let's not forget, for Bobby Drake, this man has gone through a lot in a very short period of time. And the reason why I'm saying that because, okay, for Bobby Drake, this man had lost his girlfriend recently, Opal. Now, it wasn't like she died or anything, it's more of that she just dumped him and moved on. She hated the idea of the life he lived. Now, with that being said, also for Bobby Drake, Emma Frost was able to go into the mind of Bobby Drake to take over his body. But when she did that, she realized how powerful Bobby truly was. Now, here's the thing because for Bobby, he's now realizing that if he was not just slacking off all the time, then he has the ability to be a very powerful mutant, have the ability to tap into the full potential of his powers. Now, for Rogue and Bobby, they're heading over to his parents' house. But here's the problem though. See, for Bobby and his father, they don't get along at all. And so for Bobby, he already knows that when they do arrive at his parents' house, most likely him and his father are going to argue once again almost over anything because again, they don't get along. But while you have Bobby and Rogue dealing with that, we jump over to, well, Charles Xavier. Now, this is Charles just trying to have a good night rest, and that's really it. But while trying to do that, inside his dream, he's then confronted by Magneto. Now, for me personally, this is a callback to Fatal Attractions. And the reason why I'm saying that because in that storyline, at the very end, you had Charles Xavier being able to shut down the mind of Magneto, then absorb the mind of Magneto into his own. And so it kind of seems like right now it's Magneto wanting to have a conversation with Charles Xavier. And their whole conversation is really more about like, what if? What if the two of them were able to work together? What if the two of them were able to like work out their issues and not become enemies? Because what would the world be like? Not just for them, but also for the mutant race, the human race. And honestly, that is a good question to ask because by this point in the world of X-Men comics, that question has been asked but never been answered. And for me personally, only got answered in recent years in the Krakoa era. But either way, it's Charles Xavier and Magneto having that type of conversation. While you have those two characters have that type of conversation, we jump back over to Bobby and Rogue. Now, these two characters, they're still on their way over to the home of Bobby Drake's parents, but on the way over there, you have Bobby bring up the fact that he does not like Gambit. Now, it's not because he hates Gambit, it's more because he hates the idea that Gambit is not being truthful over to Rogue. And honestly, he's right because when it came to Gambit, he didn't tell anybody that he has a wife or had a wife. Now, for Iceman, it's kind of wondering if there is a possibility that Gambit is hiding something else from the X-Men, which honestly is correct because let's not forget that Sabretooth has been hinting at the fact that there is another secret that Gambit has not told anybody about yet. And the question is right now, what is that other secret? Now, before you have the two characters being able to continue on with that conversation, they do arrive at the home of Iceman's parents. But right off the bat, you can tell that Bobby's father is upset about the idea of his son being home, but also bringing home another girl. But now, for a brief moment, we do jump over to Archangel and Psylocke. Now, for me personally, this is a great thing to see. And the reason why I'm saying that because, okay, in the earlier storylines that we had covered, they always hinted at the idea of these two characters possibly getting together. And honestly, we were waiting for that moment. But in a recent storyline, you had Jubilee tell Archangel, like, dude, you need somebody in your corner, somebody that you are going to love. And so, of course, it had to be Psylocke. And so you had Archangel being able to take Psylocke out for dinner at a restaurant that he technically owns. And so for me personally, this is a great thing to see. Another reason why I'm saying that because when it came to me growing up reading comics, I always saw these two characters kind of go back and forth. So to see the early days of their relationship is a great thing to see. But either way, it's the two of them being able to spend some time with one another. But now take all that love we saw earlier and just throw it out the window. And the reason why I'm saying that because now we got to pick back up with Bobby, his parents, and also Rogue. But here's the thing though, because we're only going to focus on Bobby and his father because again, they don't get along. And the reason why, because his father wants Bobby to have what he believes is a normal life. Now, I do have a few examples here in the storyline of what he means by that statement. They're horrible, but like I do have a couple of examples here. Like, for example, Opal. Now, Opal was the ex girlfriend to Bobby Drake, like I said earlier. But when it comes to Opal, with her being a Japanese woman, that could be a factor of why he didn't like Opal. But also because when it came to Opal, her personal life did put Bobby's parents in danger a couple of times in the past. Now, on top of that, though, it's also Bobby bringing home Rogue, who is a mutant. So somebody else who's not technically normal to his father. And so for Bobby, he realized that if he does not live a life that his father believed he should be living, then honestly, his son is living the wrong life, hanging out with the wrong people. And so Bobby realized no matter what, they're never going to get along at all. And so you have Bobby just walk away. Now you also have Rogue leave as well. And you have Rogue say like, yeah, you know what? You are a bigot because here you are right now hating on your own son because he's different. Like, what is wrong with you? Even your own son calls you a bigot as well. But getting back over to Charles Xavier and also Magneto, they're still having that same conversation they had earlier in the dream of Charles Xavier. The whole idea of what if they had worked together? What would the world be like? And honestly, again, it's a good question to ask. But now it's Magneto saying, look, here is a bunch of dead bodies. What if we had worked together? Less folks would have died when it came to our war against one another. What if we had worked together? Look, the planet would be a greener place. Again, if only we had worked together and not fight against one another. But now it's Charles saying, you don't know that though. Because yes, we can believe in the fact that if we did work together, the world could be a better place. But again, there's no way to confirm that. Now, for Charles Xavier, this is the moment he realized the entire time he was not talking to Magneto, that actually he was talking to David, his son Legion. Now, we do jump back over to Archangel and also Psylocke, and really, it's just the two of them being able to continue on with their date. Nothing really special here. It's more of like, hey, listen, you know what? I like you, you like me. We should go ahead and be a couple. And you have the two of them agree on that fact and they kiss. But again, it's still a beautiful thing to see for these two characters. But But now we can go ahead and jump over to Iceman and Rogue. Now, when we do, is really more of Bobby telling us, the readers, that he's really happy about the idea that he didn't grow up like his father did as a bigot. The whole idea of not hating on somebody because of their race or their religion or their culture is him saying, like, when he was a young boy, there were bullies at his school, and he had to protect other people from those bullies. And so for Rogue, she loves the idea that Bobby is a better man already than his father is. And honestly, that's a great thing for this character. But let's get back over to Charles Xavier. Because you have Charles Xavier being able to wake up from his, well, I guess, nightmare. You have Beast being there, but you have Charles telling Beast what he saw in his nightmare. It was Legion. But it's also Charles saying, I read the mind of Legion. He's at peace. Now, for Beast, it's kind of like, isn't that a good thing though? Because like your son did have different personalities in his mind, and each of those personalities had their own types of powers. And so you have Charles say yes, but no, because this is a kid now who's on a mission. And the question is right now, what is that mission? But also, you have Charles say, Legion's mind is more powerful than mine. And the thing is, we never sat down and realized how powerful he truly is. So we have no idea what a man like him could do when it comes to him now being at peace, no longer having all those different personalities eating away at his mind. It's him saying that David's mind is fully healed. And with his mind being fully healed, he's now a dangerous person to have out there in the world. And this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. And see you all next time, guys. Later.